Let's see. I gotta check and see if this is even working right. Man, I'm exhausted. Today sucks. Let's see what it looks like. Oh my goodness, I'm so tired. Let's see, live screens. All right. Okay. Hey everybody, this is Paul Foster with Secondhand Productions. I've been so sick, and that's why nobody's seen me online, and nobody probably knows I'm online right now, and that's totally cool with me, to be honest with you. So I'm not sure why, but my connection is no bueno. Let's see, select an event. Let's do that one. Maybe that'll work. Select OK. Alright, cool. Looks good. Hey, we got somebody watching. Can't really see who's there, but that's cool. So like I said, I've been sick. I was in El Paso over the weekend, and just a lot of heavy driving. I tried to go online and be kind of engaging with the community, the I Am a Creator community, and I thought I was going to be able to go live over the weekend. I just didn't. I was so wiped out, it just didn't happen. So, you know, if you guys didn't see me, well, that's why. So, really, not really sure what I want to show you guys tonight. So if you have suggestions, please feel free to toss something in the comment there, and we'll run with it. I don't have all the answers, but I've got a fair amount of experience with After Effects and Premiere. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Otherwise, a lot of what I'm doing right now is I have to, in order to get become a certified expert at After Effects, I have to learn a couple other components that I didn't realize I needed to know. So I've got to learn the Cinema 4D Lite, which is now surprising to me. I didn't even know this. I mean, I knew Mocha, and maybe that's what we could do. We do some Mocha tracking. That'd be cool, right? I can show you guys how to do some Mocha tracking. But I knew Mocha was part of Cinema 4D. I mean, it's part of After Effects. I mean, but I had no idea that Cinema 4D had a light version that was embedded in After Effects. And it's just kind of like, I guess that's where you're supposed to like read the update news. But you know, whenever a guy buys anything, you know, we don't read the instructions. So whenever I upgrade After Effects, I'm slow to make the effort to get up to speed on all the new fancy tools and toys. I mean, I get up to speed on a lot of them, but most of the time I'm so busy trucking along doing my thing that it's kind of like I learn over time. Oh, hey, you know, they moved this over here, or this is a new feature. One of my favorite things they did was when the way they were doing the overlay text in Premiere, I thought it was really cool how they cleaned that up. So I'm going to go into After Effects. Bam! Here we are. I actually really enjoy After Effects. I used to hesitate. And just like with anything, if you want to get good at it, you got to do it. It's just that simple. I mean, if you don't do it, then you're never going to get any good at it. So we have what I'm going to do, I guess, for the sake of this particular. And if you see me looking over to my right, I'm just trying to see if anybody sends me a message because I can't see it on this screen. So I have some footage here that I had been messing with, but we're going to clear all that out. We're going to reset everything. And I'm just going to, boom, gone. It's all done. It's all gone. Here I was messing with some Cinema 4D files. I've never messed with Cinema 4D, and I've never really got into the 3D modeling aspects of After Effects, which I always kind of figured that was like the missing element. But I have done, I've done matte paintings, and by virtue set extensions, and I've done some parallaxing. I don't know if you all know what parallaxing is, but that's basically when you layer different, you have different layers of graphics. Excuse me, I'm definitely sick today. But you layer different graphics at different depth levels in a 3D world. And then when the camera moves, they kind of shift. You ever get those pop-up books and you kind of like look at them left or right and everything feels like it's in a 3D world? Well, that's what parallaxing is. So I've done that. Like I said, set extensions using Photoshop's artwork that I've done. And there's two pieces that, everybody that says they're a visual effects artist, there's two things that they're really missing most of the time. If you call yourself a matte painter, for example, legit matte painters that get paid big money to do this, they get, they're sitting there and they've got a pen, they've got the pen monitor, and they are legitimately painting those scenes and using Photoshop and other tools that are available to them. But there's a whole selection of us, and I'm not excluded from that, where what we do is we take from other pieces of artwork that we found, pictures and things like that, and from that we build or construct our environment. And so there's two trains of thoughts here. The real hardcore matte painters, the people that get paid big money to come up with concept art and things like that for Hollywood, they look at the rest of us and go, "Oh, you're so beneath us." And then the rest of us are like, "Well, I ain't got time. I don't get paid to spend 12 hours a day determining the shade of gray I want to put on the side of a mountain." So that's really there. So there's that element, and then it's not that the rest of us can't do those things, can't do the matte paintings. It really comes down to a time factor. Ideally, we would like to be able to do those things. We'd like to have the equipment. We'd like to have the pen screens and the touch pen screens with the great pens and really get into Photoshop. But that's just on the low end, $300 to $500. So the reality is you got to go with what you got. So I have done matte painting extensions and things like that where I've worked in Photoshop, and I do pull from royalty free, license free, public, free domain art photographs, and I create my artwork that way. I'm hoping at some point in the near future to be able to get the touchscreen, pen screen. I do have an art background. My dad's an oil painter. My mom was a photographer. My grandfather was a photographer. So I did a lot of artwork through high school, college. I did a lot of mixed medium stuff where I was mixing like oils with. I was doing weird stuff. We'll just say you would have thought I was high. You thought I'd be smoking something back then, but in the late 80s. But not the case. Didn't happen. So what we can do is we've got a shot here, and I'm going to show you a couple ways you can possibly track this shot. The easiest way to do that, and if you got any questions or observations or just want to chat it up, feel free to drop me a comment right there in the chat box. It's like right there. Hey, my phone's ringing. That's awesome. I will have to call them back. I'm going to have to call them back. That was awesome. Nothing like a live stream when the phone's ringing, right? I should get up, take the call, come back. I'll lose my one watcher. All right, so let's do this. Let's have some fun for a second. They're probably going to call right back. I'm going to turn the volume down. I'll have to It's not going to be an excessively long stream, but we're going to turn the ringer down so it's not annoying us. All right, so I've got a couple shots here where I just took some footage of my desk area here. And the big thing when you're tracking shots, the most important thing is to really plan ahead. I mean, really think it through. Don't wait until after you're done filming, and nothing is worse than having a director go, "Oh, hey, don't worry, we're gonna take care of that in post. It's gonna be okay. Don't worry, I got a guy." Yeah, because if as a visual effects artist, if you hear someone say, "I got a guy," and it's in reference to that, you need to run for the hills, man. I'm telling you, that is the worst thing you could possibly deal with. So, if for the one person that's actually watching this, if you want to tell 2 friends, and they'll tell 2 friends that we're doing this, maybe we get some more people watching. See if we lose that one person for saying that. All right, so first thing we're going to do is I've got some footage, like I said, here of me, just my desk area. And all I want to do is I'm going to show you how a few ways you could probably track that and get a good clean track, and just use the tools that are readily available, not exporting out. We're not going to track it in Blender. I'm not going to track this in some third-party product that costs $75 or $150 or $200. We'll just track it with the software we have. So if you plan out your shot, like I was saying, don't get too far ahead of yourself. You plan out your shot. What I generally do is if I know I'm going to track a shot, I want to avoid the shutter effect. And so when you're filming at 23 frames per second and at a shutter speed of 50, what's going to happen, depending on the camera, and I have the camera right here, and I'll show you. All right, this is, I'm not Ryan Connolly. All right, I don't get cool donations from lens borrowers to go and all those guys. So now I'm not sitting here with a fancy camera. This is a T6i. All right, it's got a Rokinon 24 millimeter prime lens on it, but it is just a T6i, a Canon Rebel T6i, and it is a good camera, and you can get some good shots from it. But you have to understand the limitations of your cameras. One of the limitations of the T6i, it's the same limitation you're going to find with other more high-end cameras. I don't know, like a Red Dragon, and everybody talks big about, oh my God, it's a red. Yeah, but they're not good low-light cameras. And then you've got the Blackmagic Ursa, which is not necessarily a good low-light camera from everything I've read about them and seen the footage. So when it's not necessarily a good low-light camera, you got to go do things like put faster glass on there. This is a T1.5 lens, and so that helps with the fact that it's not a good low-light camera. So you don't want your ISO to go above its natural ISO setting, and I know I'm kind of getting off track, but this is all related, I promise you. If you see here, I've got a few light sources. I don't know, can you guys hear me? Can someone say, yeah, hey, I can hear you? Hello. All right. Well, if you can't hear me, tell me, because I can't hear me. So, but I've got a few light sources to help kind of fill in the lighting gaps, and all I did was turn my chair. Okay, so I'm sitting here at my desk, and I'm just turning my chair left and right, left and right. The key is if you increase your shutter speed, it's going to do a couple things. It's going to reduce the amount of light coming into the lens, but it's going to give you you're going to get more frames per second. So you're going to have less shutter effect and less motion blur. Excuse me, I'm sick. Apologize. But so if you increase your shutter speed, that's what's going to happen. You're going to get cleaner images, but they're going to be a little darker because you're letting less light is hitting the sensor between shots. If you think about it, I mean, unless you got a mirrorless camera, it's sitting there going, and it's bouncing the light and everything. So frames per second, I think I ran it at 30 frames per second, and I set my shutter speed to about 60 because that 2-to-1 ratio still makes it fairly cinematic, depending on what you're trying to shoot. There's a really cool video out there. I should find it and put the link in the below about I saw it on Facebook, but it was a really cool article, and it talked about depending on what you're shooting determines how the frame rate you should shoot at. I mean, everybody thinks default cinematic is 23.59 frames per second and then you double that, or 24 frames per second, you double that, and you basically get to 50 shutter speed of 50, and that gives you that cinematic look. And that's true, but there are other scenarios in which you might shoot at 30 frames per second, at 30 frames per second, 60 frames per second, maybe 120 frames per second. You might shoot at 22 frames per second and 12 frames per second. It just depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Yeah, I mean, a good example is they say fight scenes shoot at 22 frames per second, play back at 24 frames per second. So just something to think about when you're, people that are budding filmmakers or people that are interested in that kind of stuff. Those are all interesting points. So back to what we're doing, which is motion tracking. So After Effects has some really cool motion tracking tools here, and right out the gate, I've got my tracker up here on the right. All I care about is I just want to find a nice even spot. Now, when I said you should plan out your shots pretty well, I mean, I literally do. You want to make sure they're well lit. Make sure your camera settings are right. Don't allow your ISO to get above the native ISO of the camera. So with the Rebel T6i, I'll stick it back at it. Block my face. You can't see me. With the Rebel T6i, I believe the native ISO on this is like 600. Not very high. So that's kind of a limitation of the camera. So that just means you need to light your scene really well. And so I had enough light in this scene between the light coming in through the windows and the light on my desk that allowed me to shoot this scene in what was relatively a dark room. And I just turned the chair so that I could get like a dolly or a tripod kind of like swing. Now I'm just going to pull this back. I don't want to go too far with it because it becomes... And then if you want to trim this down, it's simple. You go up to your composition. You can go trim comp to work area, or you can hit Control-Shift-X. Your choice, whichever works better for you. So we got this. I always turn off the audio on my tracks too, because that's kind of like annoying. All right, so now we've got this. Now, if I want to track this in using the motion tracker, there's different kinds of trackers. I can track just the motion of the image, right? And at which point I would select, if I'm going to track motion, I'm going to select track motion, right? It's going to take me over here to the layer, and you're going to see it gave me this tracking point. We've done this before. And I'm just going to pick a really cool high contrast area, and it's going to track this area within this larger space. Matter of fact, an even better one would be like right there. You know, excuse me. And if I shrink this down, I say I want to look for just that in this space. That dot shouldn't even move. Now, this right here is going to track kind of, it's going to give me a left, right, and up and down. There's not going to be any kind of perspective, no zooming, no rotation in just a single point track. If you want that, you can come over here and you can hit the rotation. It's going to add me a second tracking point. Okay. And then you can actually grab this guy and we can find another spot on the screen that's going to allow us to track that position. All right. So I'm just going to grab this guy and we're just going to pull him over here. Here's a great spot. It's okay. Let's see. Where's it? Another really good. Here's a good spot right there. Look at that. Boom. Man, how lucky can I get? 2 spots like that? I don't think so. And then, you know, get it right where you want it, and then back out. You go back to your original spot, and then because I didn't start on the farthest, the very first frame, that's okay. It's not a big deal. I'm going to analyze going to my left and let it do its deal. It doesn't look like it's moving too much. That's good. And then I'm just going to go ahead and analyze going to the right. And it's going to cruise along. It's going to do its thing. Hopefully it doesn't go off the screen. Oh, it started getting a little squirrely around there. Oh, no. And that's okay. Because what I can do, you see here, it started getting really kind of loose right in there. That's a bummer. This guy held really good. But check this out. Here's what you can do. So you got a little loose on you. You hold down that Alt key, okay? And then you can left click and you can relocate this to a better spot. Maybe you got a spot that's just a better image, better overall spot that you want. Now what it's doing is it's going to continue to build that track. And I'm just going to make this a little bigger, okay? And it's going to use this data to continue building this line. So now we're going to go ahead and continue going to our right, and it's going to continue. It's not moving this time. It did start. I started to lose it. So now we're just going to roll back to where I started to lose it. Right in here. See, it started going away. So I'm going to find me another spot that I like a little better. I'm going to hold down that Alt key. Let's find another spot. Here's a good high contrast. Corners usually work out the best. Round objects, not so bueno. All right, so we're gonna now we're gonna try and finish tracking it with this guy. I lost it again. Man, this is not my day. That's okay. We're getting closer. And then you find a spot where you feel like it's good. I think I'm losing it about there. Let's find another area on this, and it could be, excuse me. I'm going to grab this guy right here. Remember, you hold down that Alt key, and I think I'm going to grab this spot. Let's grab this guy right here. Okay? And then we'll just go, if you hit this one right here, it's going to go frame by frame. And you could actually use that. See, like this guy got a little bit off. Just click him and drag him just a little bit to the right, and that fixes it. We're almost there. Yeah, that's good. That one's off a little bit. See how it kind of got off? Pull it over. That got off. I kind of want. I'm trying to keep it off here to the right. That one's not so bad. Next one's going to be off. I can feel it. Yeah, it's not going to be perfect. Hold down that space bar. You can left click and drag. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Next one. That's good. It slipped again. Just pull it over. That should be out of it. So if I look at it, boom. All right. So now I have to save this data, and the easiest way to do this is you right click, you create a new null object. That way you can assign, you can parent other things to this, or you can child other things to this object, and it will take on the properties. So we're going to edit our target. That's good. Select null one, and then we're going to apply that and select OK. Then I should have a cool thing where I'm able to handle everything, rotation, perspective, and all that. So then the idea is, what's the point of this? You know, what's the advantage? Well, the advantage is if I want to stick anything in this scene. If I wanted something to be in this shot, and I'd have to go digging. I don't know. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. I don't know, keys. Let's go keys. Let's see what we can find. Images. Just borrow on a set of keys. Here we go. We're going to borrow. Let's see. Those look good. Excuse me. So let's save image as, and then we're going to stick this on our desktop. And we're just going to save that. And go back to here. Go to my desktop. I'm going to grab these keys. Let's import them. Just for the sake of you seeing what this does, I'll bring this down. Now I've got this behind the image. I can move it in front. We've got our keys. I can set these keys anywhere on this desk I want. Okay. I could even do like a Luma key and make them blend in, all that good jazz. And I'll just grab this, drag that up there, and now it should follow along all pretty like. Oh no, it's gonna give me a hard time. But see how it's following along, and it's got the rotation, but that's not necessarily realistic. So what happens when you've collected the rotation data and then you're like, I don't want to use that. That's easy enough. You can go into your null and you go here, you just turn off the rotation. Boom. You still have your position data. And that image now takes on the properties of the null object, which is tracking the secondhand production stuff. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do this, and I'm going to undo this real quick. Excuse me. Is to, we got our image now. What happens now that I've gotten away with that? That image doesn't move with the image, with the video. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to now, I want to track the position of the camera. So if I want to do that, it's going to go in here and it's going to, it has a cool 3D camera tracker where it'll track points in the video, and then you can select 3 points of an area that you want to use that are important, and then you can using those 3 points, you can pretty much do anything. You can export it to 3D software. You can import 3D objects into the scene, which is where the Cinema 4D light comes in. At least as far as After Effects, it's kind of a companion plugin now, at least the light version. And as long as everything goes smooth on this track, which is kind of hit and miss for me, you're going to start to see all these cool points. And it's like, they're so small you can't see them. So if I increase their size, and it's giving you their depth, you see that? You see how these are bigger and those are smaller, they're farther away. So as you move through the scene, you're going to be able to see all these different points of perspective. And you want to really look for something that's going to stay in the shot. So ideally, the best way to do this is if you put a little piece of green tape right there, maybe another one right here, where you want the object to be. You put some kind of a marker, something that you can remove from the shot pretty easily, and then that way you're able to track exactly where you want to put the keys, because that's a factor in this whole thing. If I decided I wanted to track over here by the phone, then wherever I put that, it's going to track the phone's perspective. How that object's going to be affected is going to be affected by the distance of the phone from the virtual camera that we've just now made, or we're about to make. And the other thing you want to do is you want to look for points that stay in the shot. You see how, like, right over here, these 2 points disappeared. You know, we don't have a lot of points that we can pull from over here. And so then the question comes down to what happens. It looks like these points have held pretty good. So you can do it, you can select it like this and hold down I think it's the control, or then you can right click. Yeah. Did I do that right? There's 1, 2, 3. There we go. Right click, and then you can create 2 things. You can create the null and the camera. Over here, now we've got a null object. It's a 3D object. It's associated with that that marker, and you've got the camera. You can export that into 3D software, and you can run with that. And so if I put this, if I take my JPEG and I associate it to that null, it's not doing anything. But if I make this a 3D object, then I have to put it in front of the screen, and then it will move with everything else. So like if I want to see I always kind of go to this custom view, which is a 3/4 view, trying to figure out where my image went. There's that. Where's this guy? I lost him. He's gone. Where's my image? Say none. Where'd he go? That's not him back there, is it? No, that's just the marker. That's not what I was looking for. That is very strange. Let's go to like a left view. I'm still looking for this image. Alright, so let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Where is he? He's gone. I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine. Oh. Alright, so that's the camera tracker, but the key here is it's actually tracking the motion of the camera, which is good if you're like, if I wanted to export that, save this, and take this into Cinema 4D, it would maintain that motion capture from the motion of the camera, and then I could put a 3D object in the shot, replicate the camera motion, and the 3D object would be part of it, bring that back into After Effects, and all would be good. So the last way I want to show you this, and I'm sorry, I'm just really not feeling well, but I'm trying to truck through this. The last way I'm going to show you how to do this is with Mocha AE. And the best way to do this is if you have a .mov file. But if you don't have a .mov file, chances are really good these MP4s aren't going to import into Mocha. But what you can do is you can take, and I'm going to undo all that. Let's just get rid of all this. Okay, we got rid of all that. Now we're going to come back and we'll bring our footage back down. Where's our footage? Oh, which one is this? Yeah, there you go. So we're going to bring our footage back down. And then, so what you would normally do is you'd say, oh, okay, I want to export this. If I first went into my animation with that selected and I say track it in Mocha, it's going to launch the Mocha AE. It's going to do this registration thing, but you see, it didn't come up with any video. It didn't happen. Oh, you're not going to be able to see Mocha. Oh, darn it. Let me see if I can do that. Maybe I can do like a region of interest. Add a source. I'm going to do a screen capture. And we're just... Oh, man. I hate doing this, but I'm going to do it. Ah! Okay, there we go. So let's minimize this. Can you see Mocha yet? Oh, did I activate it? Did I move it to the top? Okay, so that's at the top. I want to make sure you guys can see the Mocha. Okay. I think you can see the Mocha. Alright. So, hopefully you guys can... Hopefully you're seeing the Mocha. I'm just trying to make sure you guys can see what I'm doing here. So it's not crazy. It looks like you can see it. Okay. So here, because what it did is it didn't actually upload any information. So the other way you do this, and the better way to do it, is to actually go in and you're going to... darn it. I didn't mean to do that. What did it... Oh, goodness. Now I'm just clicking on things. Things not to do when you're sick. Go File, Export, and you're going to export it to the render queue. Okay, by default it's going to come up and it's going to show you lossless AVI. You select you want to actually select the output module, switch it from AVI to JPEG sequence, select OK, and then when you get this format, then we just want to make sure we stick it in a good spot and we're not creating more problems for ourselves. So we're going to go call this test. Then we'll save that. And now we're going to go ahead and hit our render, and it's going to render every frame of this shot one frame at a time. So this stuff's not hard, but it's a little time consuming. We're going to switch it over to the Mocha. There we go. Oh, wrong thing. I meant to go there. So now we'll go ahead and we're going to close Mocha. We'll open this back up here, and then when we say File, Export, or when we go to Animation, after we click on go back to our video, right? And then you go Animation, and you're going to say Track in Mocha AE. It's going to ask you. It's going to say, hey, I don't find anything. You say, I want to select, go back here, go into my video blog. I don't know where to put test. And it's going to give me, here we go. It's got all the video, every image right there from 324 to 441. Make sure your frame rate's the same, okay? And I don't think that's my correct frame rate. What was my frame rate on this camera? I have to look. Y'all bear with me. I'm looking. I gotta look. See what my frame rate was. Let's see. Oh yeah. Let's oh, I didn't set it right. Oh, darn it. I'm gonna find out here in just a second. Oh, yeah. I'm at 29.97, so I was at 30 frames per second. That's what I thought. I didn't think I was running at 24. So you want to make sure you're matching your frame rate. So 29.97, pixel ratio is fine. That's all good. And select OK. Now it's actually loaded this thing. And here, now, this does planar tracking. It doesn't do like pixel tracking. Then all you have to do is, it's just so easy. You figure out what you want to track. And that's all you got to do. So if you're wanting to track a position, like earlier we were talking about with the motion tracker, the camera tracker tracking the camera itself, it's going to find pixels on the on the screen that work for it. But here, all we got to do is we pick a spot. And the easiest stuff, I want to mimic where these keys are, and I'm just interested in that tracking data. I can plot around it, right click to wrap it and finish it, and then right here we're going to track left to right. This one's a little bit different. It's the opposite of what everybody else is, and then so now it's doing this planar tracking up to that point, and I can just track it the other way. This is really good if you're tracking stuff like eyes and you want to mask, because not only is this going to retain, see how when this starts to pull off to the side, I'm still maintaining this position. I'm not losing my tracking data at this point. Still holding. It's still holding. It's holding up pretty good at the moment, and it should come back. And it's still holding. Now, there's no guarantees it's going to do this for every shot, but you can't do that with the motion tracker in After Effects. I mean, this thing tracked it right off the screen, came back. Now, it did get a little elongated at the end here, but that's okay. If you wanted to track eyes or a face, or if you get the full-blown version of Mocha, I've seen them actually do like blemish removal in actual video, which was pretty cool. So you can then, now if you've got everything you want there, you export. Now you have a lot of options down at the bottom. You could have chosen how you want to use your track your motion. I usually do shear because that's kind of like a more, instead of perspective, shear works a little bit more realistically. You can set the minimum number of pixels used, right, which determines the accuracy. And the higher the number, the more accurate it has to be, and the slower the track. All right. And then all you got to do is you can export your tracking data right here. You can copy that to the clipboard, and we can jump back over to After Effects. Here I can grab a null object, new null object, right? Excuse me. Put it on. You want to make sure that you put that on one. Matter of fact, I probably wanted to make sure I was back on frame 1 when I copy. So make sure you're over here on frame 1. Export our tracking data. Say copy to clipboard. Go back to your After Effects scene. Here we go. We're zoomed in. We got our null object ready to go. And I'm going to right click on the null object and I'm going to paste. Is it going to let me? Control V. There you go. Paste it. Now when you go back, you scroll back, you see where I put that? So now that tracking data is like right there and it's nice and smooth. So if I take my keys, so with the other two, I was worried about it going off the screen. I'm going to take my keys, I'm going to set them right here. I'm just going to track to that null object, hit and see if it'll actually do it. Yeah, I noticed with the 2018, it's like, look how smooth that looks now. And before we did rotation and everything, and it wasn't as clean as with what Mocha does. You can see a slight shift in the way Mocha is handled the keys. That is a lot more realistic than what AE did by itself, and that's probably why they have an AE plugin that comes with After Effects. Now here's the other part, and I'll just throw this in as a bonus. If you're doing masking, like in the video where I masked out the girl's eyes, and you want to bring that in, all you got to do, you're back on that first frame, you're right here, here's the area we wanted to create a mask for. All right, I can export my shape data right there, copy that to the clipboard, and there's an important thing to note. You can, because if you have multiple layers of masks, you can export the selected one, all visible ones, or all of them. And by visible, it's like if you turn this off, you can't see it. If you hit that button, it's not going to continue to try and recalculate that track on this particular mask. But so I'm going to copy this to the clipboard, selected layer. Now I'm going to come back over to After Effects. Well, what if I want to create a mask? Here's the solid. I'm just going to create a solid. Now here's the important thing, okay? Your solid has to be the same dimensions of the original footage, or else it's just going to throw the whole thing off. It's not going to work. So you come up here. We're going to select a white solid. I drop that in. Then if I want to copy this, if I just paste it, it's gonna create a layer. Okay, but if I come up here and I say paste Mocha mask, it's gonna treat it like a mask, like any other mask. Like you plotted it out, and you'll see you get the same effects. There you go. I want to feather this guy. I can feather him. If I want to do an opacity and bring it down, I can do that. Now here's the beauty. Watch this. Let's just remove the key and watch this. It tracks pretty darn solid. Probably could use some tweaking for sure, but there you go. There you have it. And that's how you do it. So there's 3 ways that you can do tracking. 2 of them within After Effects, 1 of them with Mocha. I hope you like this video. I apologize for being sick through the whole thing. If you like what we're doing here and you follow our channel, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Make sure you hit that bell for updates. Be sure to hit that like button down below and show us some love. And we'll see you next time, all right? Going to bed. Oh, there you go.